For years, I've seen men believe they need others' approval to move forward. They think they need constant support, validation, or permission to make important choices. They believe that if no one applauds them or understands them, they are doing something wrong. But the truth is, the most important moments in life are usually faced alone. Real growth doesn't happen when everyone understands you. It happens when you hold yourself up even when no one else does. Being alone is not a sign of failure. It's a necessary step in building yourself. In silence, a man discovers who he really is, what he thinks without outside influence, and what he's willing to do when no one is watching. A man who can't walk alone ends up depending on others' opinions, shared emotions, and paths he didn't consciously choose. Doing it alone doesn't mean rejecting others. It means not needing their approval to move forward. Many men avoid being alone because they confuse it with abandonment. They think being alone means being incomplete, behind, or failing. From a young age, we are taught to seek company, approval, and belonging, but rarely are we taught to stand on our own. This inability to be alone is one of the most silent and costly weaknesses a man can carry. When a man can't tolerate solitude, he sacrifices authenticity for company. He says yes when he wants to say no, adapts when he should stand firm, and lowers his standards to avoid discomfort, exclusion, or falling behind. Each small compromise may seem minor, but together they build a life that no longer fully belongs to him. I've seen intelligent men dilute their identity, not because of direct pressure, but because of fear of being alone with their decisions. Solitude itself is not the problem. The problem is not knowing what to do when all outside noise disappears. In silence, a man faces his true thoughts, unresolved fears, and real desires. Many avoid this because it demands honesty. It requires admitting where they're failing, what they're avoiding, and what parts of life they're living on autopilot. But this confrontation, though uncomfortable, is necessary. Men who build something strong go through voluntary isolation, not because they hate others, but because they understand that clarity comes from silence. They need distance from opinions, comparisons, and expectations to define their own direction. During this time, they learn to think for themselves, make decisions without consensus, and trust their own judgment. That confidence is not inherited or borrowed. It's built by facing solitude with courage. Being alone also means stopping the need to explain every step. Many men exhaust themselves trying to justify decisions to people who don't understand their process or vision. A man who needs everyone's understanding ends up stuck. Not every choice must be shared, not every path explained. Some stages of life are meant to strengthen you, not to show off. If you want to build a life with your own direction, you must learn to be alone without feeling incomplete, work without applause, move forward without witnesses, and stand by your decisions even when no one validates them. This makes you powerful in the best sense. You're no longer manipulated by others' opinions, dependent on group approval, or afraid to fall behind socially. Most men aren't afraid of being alone. They fear what solitude reveals. When outside noise disappears, an uncomfortable truth emerges. Who are you when no one is watching? Alone, there are no masks or excuses. You face yourself honestly, and that demands character. Many fill every empty space with constant stimulation to avoid thinking. They jump from conversation to conversation, entertainment to entertainment, not out of curiosity, but to escape. Stillness confronts them with broken promises and unused potential. Avoiding solitude is avoiding personal responsibility. And a man who runs from responsibility will never build something truly his own. Used wisely, solitude becomes a laboratory of self-discovery. This is where you discover how you react when you fail, how you talk to yourself when no one is listening, and how strong you are when there's no applause. Real character shows in what you do in private, not in what you say, but in what you hold on to when no one is watching. Being alone also means standing by unpopular decisions. When you choose a different path, you naturally separate from those who follow the crowd. Success doesn't reward intentions. It rewards quiet consistency. It doesn't respond to what you wish, but to what you do repeatedly. I've noticed that most people overestimate what they can achieve quickly and underestimate what they can build with steady discipline. This lack of perspective leads to quitting too soon. The most critical phase of growth is when effort doesn't yet show visible results, but it's already building your inner strength. This is where confidence, resilience, and character are formed. Those who push through this stage gain an advantage that can't be taken away. They no longer rely on motivation. When you understand that success follows rules, not moods, you stop negotiating with yourself. You act from commitment, not feelings. This changes your relationship with effort. You no longer see it as unfair sacrifice, but as the logical price of building a better life. Accepting these rules doesn't limit you, it focuses you. It stops the search for easy shortcuts and lets you build solid paths. When you make peace with this truth, progress stops being a struggle and becomes a daily practice that produces real, lasting results. Nothing valuable is free. Every big goal comes with a hidden cost that is rarely mentioned. Sometimes it's time, other times it's comfort, social approval, or relationships that no longer fit your direction. This silent cost separates those who advance from those who only wish. Many people are ready to pay visible costs, but not the invisible ones. They're willing to work when recognized, but not when their effort goes unseen. They want change without changing routines, priorities, or habits that no longer serve them. Failure doesn't come from inability. It comes from underestimating the real cost of growth. Time is one of the most demanding prices. Every hour spent on a goal is an hour not spent on distractions, comfort, or wasted leisure. Those who achieve big results understand the value of time before seeing the rewards. They know progress comes from repeated decisions, not single actions. Another common cost is approval. When you change, you make others uncomfortable. When you discipline yourself, you separate. Many stop because they don't want to be judged or misunderstood. They choose instant acceptance over personal evolution, but true growth always comes with some social discomfort. This uncomfortable stage is inevitable. It's when you give more than you receive, when effort exceeds visible reward. This stage doesn't punish, it prepares. It strengthens your mind, clarifies your vision, and filters shallow motivations. Those who pass through it are transformed. Once you consciously accept this cost, everything changes. You stop seeing effort as a burden and start seeing it as an investment in yourself. Sacrifice becomes a strategic choice. This perspective completely changes your relationship with discipline. Accepting the full cost ends constant complaining. You understand that every sacrifice has meaning. Every difficulty serves a purpose. Understanding the cost reduces emotional exhaustion because you no longer expect instant rewards for processes that take time. Success is not built by avoiding cost, but by embracing it wisely. When you do this, your goal stops being just a destination. It becomes a process that strengthens you. True discipline is built in private. It doesn't show up in public or in moments of recognition. It forms when no one is watching, applauding, or demanding immediate results. This is when you decide whether you move forward out of conviction or only when there's external pressure. Many can work hard when someone watches, but relax as soon as supervision disappears. This reveals a deep difference between appearance and true character. Real discipline doesn't need an audience. It works even when rewards are far away and fatigue is real. This ability is trained. It's not something you're born with. True character shows when you could fail without consequences, yet still choose to act. This is where desire meets commitment. When applied consistently, this principle changes how a person relates to themselves. Fulfilling promises in private strengthens real self-esteem, not the kind built on praise, but the one built on self-respect. Every time you honor a promise only you know about, you build inner trust. This trust doesn't depend on your surroundings, others' approval, or favorable conditions. It becomes a solid foundation. People who respect themselves in private act with more confidence in public. They don't need constant validation because they've proven to themselves they can stand strong. This inner security leads to clearer decisions, stronger boundaries, and greater alignment between what you say and what you do. Silent discipline also reduces emotional stress. When you act from internal commitment, you stop negotiating with yourself daily. Actions become automatic and aligned with your identity. This clarity frees mental energy that was once wasted on doubt and excuses. Over time, private practice produces visible results, but when they arrive, they don't define you. The real achievement happened earlier, in building your character. External success simply reflects what was already solid inside. This is the foundation of lasting success. It doesn't depend on circumstances or fleeting motivation. It rests on a disciplined identity that acts correctly even when no one is watching. Every sacrifice you make is a silent declaration of who you choose to be. You are defined not by what you say, but by what you are willing to give up to move forward. People committed to growth don't constantly negotiate with habits that weaken them. Every daily choice shapes identity. You can't become disciplined while clinging to energy-draining behaviors. Sacrifice doesn't take from you. It filters what matters. Let go of the unnecessary so the essential can grow. Letting go is not losing, it's creating space. This mental and emotional space is key for real transformation. Many fear giving up because they confuse sacrifice with punishment, but conscious sacrifice is a form of self-respect. It's choosing a future that's worth more than momentary comfort. This mindset makes discipline a powerful choice, not a heavy obligation. When you decide firmly, life starts to align, not because everything is easy, but because internal struggle fades. Indecision wastes more energy than effort. When priorities are clear, actions naturally follow. Internal alignment brings calm. You're no longer divided between what you know you should do and what you do. Clarity is one of the fastest accelerators of personal progress. Over time, these conscious sacrifices build a strong identity. You become someone you can rely on. This inner reputation is more valuable than external recognition because it supports every area of life. The first big sacrifice is always time. Time that others waste on distractions, the focused person invests in building themselves. Progress rarely comes from talent alone. It comes from how you use your time. Each day has the same hours, but not the same choices. Every minute spent on the irrelevant is a minute stolen from your future. Time isn't lost. It's exchanged. Every exchange has consequences. Those who value time make conscious decisions, even if it means saying no or upsetting others. Learning to say no isn't selfish, it's strategy. It recognizes your energy is limited, and not everything deserves your attention. Many people burn out not from working too hard, but from scattering their focus on things that don't matter. Those who don't protect their time end up living by others' plans, priorities, and commitments. This eventually leads to frustration and stagnation. Regaining control of your time is regaining control of your life. Success begins when you decide your time is valuable. That moment marks a turning point. You stop reacting and start choosing. Every hour becomes an investment, not a wasted emotion. When you manage time intentionally, progress becomes inevitable. You don't need to do extraordinary things, just the right things consistently. Respecting your time is a clear sign of personal maturity. Protecting your time protects your future, because the future isn't built by big promises, but by small daily decisions. By honoring your time, you build a life that aligns with your values, not circumstances. One of the hardest truths I've learned is that almost no one will notice your sacrifices. The world doesn't pay attention to quiet effort. It doesn't applaud the difficult decisions you make when you're alone. Many people quit, not because they can't continue, but because they expect external validation to maintain their discipline. No one celebrates the late nights you work while others rest. No one notices the temptations you resisted, the distractions you avoided, or the comforts you quietly left behind. And that is exactly where your commitment is tested. When no one is watching, no rewards are given, yet you choose to keep going. Real success is built in silence and revealed publicly. The process happens away from the spotlight, in the constant repetition of the right habits, in consistency that doesn't need approval. What is visible is only the final result, never the price paid. What seems invisible today will seem like luck tomorrow. People will say it happened suddenly, quickly, easily, but those who've walked the path know there is nothing sudden about true success. Everything is cumulative, step by step, day by day. It wasn't luck, it was discipline practiced when no one was watching. It was showing up when you didn't feel like it. It was staying on course when progress wasn't obvious. This silent discipline builds inner strength that doesn't rely on recognition. The problem is many confuse motivation with commitment. Motivation depends on circumstances. Commitment comes from character. When you understand that no one needs to see you for it to matter, you reach a higher level of personal maturity. Those who learn to work without applause gain enormous advantages. They become emotionally self-sufficient and don't need approval to move forward. That independence is one of the strongest foundations for lasting success. In the end, the discipline you practice in private produces results that speak for themselves. You don't need to explain your process or justify your decisions. The world sees only the outcome, but you know each achievement was built when no one was watching, and that certainty is worth more than any external applause. Many people step back, not for lack of ability, but for fear of being alone. Talented, intelligent, capable individuals stop growing because they can't handle the discomfort of walking alone. Change means separation, and that separation is harder than most admit. Not everyone will follow your new direction. Some feel threatened, confused, or simply don't understand. Growth acts as a natural filter. It reveals who celebrates your progress and who feels uncomfortable around it. That reaction isn't your responsibility, but your choice to continue is. When you grow, you make others uncomfortable, not because you're wrong, but because your discipline exposes their lack of action. Your focus highlights their distractions. Your consistency exposes their procrastination. Many people prefer you stay the same, not out of love, but to avoid feeling challenged themselves. Sacrifice also means letting go of people who don't want to grow. This isn't rejection or moral superiority, it's about direction. Two people moving toward different goals cannot keep the same pace without one holding back. Over time, that holdback becomes internal resentment. Holding onto relationships that no longer fit has a hidden cost. It drains energy, creates guilt, and builds tension between who you are and who others expect you to be. This internal conflict wears more than solitude itself because it forces you to negotiate your growth every day. The loneliness of growth is temporary. It's a stage, not a destination. It lasts only through the transition from an old version of yourself to one aligned with your purpose. Those who endure this period with strength eventually find healthier connections based on shared values, not shared habits. Mediocrity shared with others lasts forever. It gives immediate company, but asks you to lower your standards. It gives belonging, but takes direction. That trade is never worth it, because the cost is years of silent frustration. Choosing growth means accepting moments of isolation, but also self-respect. When you stay true to your path, even if it means walking alone, you send a clear message to your mind: your development matters. That internal conviction becomes the foundation for a life built with purpose, clarity, and true freedom. One of the hardest sacrifices happens in the mind. It's invisible, unnoticed, rarely recognized, but it completely determines the direction of your life. Letting go of weak thoughts means questioning mental habits you've repeated for years, ideas that limit you, and inner narratives that keep you small. Many people don't fail for lack of resources. They fail because of too many internal excuses. The mind seeks comfort, not growth. If you don't train it, it always finds a reason to delay what you know you should do. Letting go of the constant need for approval is another deep sacrifice. Even capable people stop because they need to be accepted before acting. They wait for emotional permission from others. Real progress begins when you stop asking if it's okay and start deciding what is right for you. Your inner dialogue is the silent battlefield of success. The words you tell yourself when no one is listening shape your daily actions. I've seen people disciplined on the outside but defeated on the inside because they never learned to guide themselves with clarity, firmness, and respect. The way you talk to yourself shapes what you accept and what you change. Mental independence doesn't mean ignoring advice. It means not being ruled by passing emotions or others' opinions. A person who thinks clearly can listen to everything and still make their own decisions. This ability is rare, and that's why it's so powerful. When you govern yourself from within, something changes. You stop reacting automatically to fear, doubt, or criticism. You observe these thoughts without obeying them. You understand that not everything in your mind deserves your energy. This internal control is a higher form of freedom. I've seen ordinary people become unstoppable when they master their inner world. Not because life becomes easier, but because they no longer fall apart under pressure. They stay on course even in uncertainty because their stability comes from mental clarity, not circumstances. When you govern yourself internally, no one can stop you externally. Challenges may slow you down, but they cannot divert you. Criticism may bother you, but it won't paralyze you. True mental sacrifice builds a quiet strength that supports any external achievement and makes discipline part of your identity, not an occasional effort. We live surrounded by instant rewards, constant stimulation, and quick fixes that promise relief without effort. Every time you choose the immediate, even when harmless, you are silently choosing against what lasts. Not because the immediate is bad, but because it trains your mind to avoid the deep process that real growth requires. Patience is not passivity, it's focused power. It's the ability to stay on course while others chase quick results. Patient people don't wait idly. They work steadily, even when progress isn't visible. This active calm lets them move forward without burning out emotionally. Nothing truly great grows in a hurry. Everything solid is built with repetition, focus, and time. I've studied paths of sustained success for years, and the pattern is always the same. Small, consistent actions done longer than most are willing to tolerate. Impatience destroys more dreams than lack of talent. In the end, the biggest reward of sacrifice isn't external. It's who you become inside. Character built through discipline is the only thing that can support true success. Without it, achievements are fragile, dependent on circumstances and shifting emotions. I've seen people reach far and lose everything, not due to bad luck, but because their character didn't grow alongside their results. Early sacrifice prepares you to sustain what you achieve. If your external growth surpasses your inner strength, imbalance eventually demands a price. When you develop discipline, clarity, and internal control, your life no longer depends on external motivation. You don't need to feel inspired to act. You move because you know who you are and where you're going. The most effective people don't wait for good feelings. They act from strong principles. That's when you start moving from identity, not impulse. Your decisions become simpler, priorities clearer, and sacrifices more conscious. Not because life is easier, but because you're no longer divided between what you want now and what you respect later. And now I want you to write in the comments. Make it a personal commitment, not an empty promise, but a declaration of direction. What are you willing to sacrifice from today to build the life you respect? Putting it into words strengthens the identity you're forming and turns intention into real action.